And welcome back to Soul Healing with the ETs. Today we are jumping into why our soul chooses us to be gay, lesbian, trans, bisexual, asexual. Whew! First of all, quit beating yourself up. You and I had absolutely nothing to do with choosing our sexuality. Our soul chooses our sexual orientation just as it chooses our parents, our gender, our race, where we will be born, and a whole bunch of other things before it incarnates into human form. All depends on what our soul wants to learn in this incarnation. Basically, our soul is building a character for its earth incarnation, just as we humans would build a character in a video game that we're about to play. Our souls are from a much higher dimension and incarnate into a human body here on earth to have an experience with physical matter in a three-dimensional format so that the soul can learn, grow, and evolve. So us humans are the characters that the soul incarnates into for their games here on earth. I want my character to be tall and male and heterosexual. Well, I want my character to be short and female and homosexual. Each will result in a different experience. You hear all the time, oh, well, you chose to be gay. You know, you don't have to be that way. Well, if it's your sexual preference to be lesbian or trans, no, it isn't. How ridiculous. Why would you possibly choose a life that is going to be so much more difficult to live, where we will be ridiculed and shamed and maybe beaten up and rejected for being different than the pack? Heterosexuals didn't choose to be heterosexual. They just are heterosexual. So the same applies for gays, trans, lesbians, bisexuals, asexuals. Let's just use the term gay to encompass all the above from now on. Too many people think that because you're gay, you're a less worthy human, which is a load of horseshit. There is zero need to feel guilty and down in the dumps about being gay. It has absolutely nothing with anything that you chose or thought or decided. It's our soul that chooses our sexuality, and it's just to gain a specific experience. That's all it is. Our soul wants to grow and evolve and accomplishes this through a multitude of different experiences. And being gay is going to bring about different experiences to the soul, just as being a woman in one incarnation and a man in another incarnation will bring different experiences, just as being Asian in one lifetime and black in another lifetime and Latino in another lifetime will bring about different experiences, just as being born in Canada in one lifetime and in India in another and in Egypt in another will all have different experiences. Our soul wants to explore each facet of a diamond as it is here to learn, and sexuality is part of the immense learning curriculum that is available here on earth. And yeah, we, the human incarnations, get stuck with these experiences, and being a sexual minority is one of the experiences. So the question is rather, what are you going to do now that you know this information? We really need to understand that we are all souls and we're all direct creations from Source. That is also known as God. And that Source can be viewed as an entire ocean, and that each one of our souls is one drop of water in this ocean. So we are all from Source. We are all connected as part of this huge cosmic play here on Earth, and we all have a specific reason to be here at this time. And each one of us has a list of lessons and challenges that we want to achieve, which is also known as our soul contract. Gays, lesbians, trans, bisexuals, asexuals have been around since the get-go of humanity. We just weren't called that way back. But then when you look through the Roman and the Greek days, for example, there were gays all over the place, and it was a common part of society. It's only when the Vatican and the Catholic religion took over and wanted to control us that they threw us as outcasts. And even today, you look at some of these religious preachers out there who think that God is going to chastise all the gays and that everyone has to be heterosexual to be loved by God. What a load of crap that is. We are all children of Source. And Source is not going to stop loving us because we're gay. That makes zero sense. Just like Source is not going to stop loving you because you're a racial minority or you're from one specific country over another, that makes no sense either. Gays have been omnipresent throughout history. It's only the people that are interested in controlling us who say that it's wrong. It's not at all wrong, but it's a perfectly normal way to be, as it's our souls who choose us to be gay prior to incarnation. If you're ever in the presence of a religious preacher or a prophet who says that being gay is against God or whatever, I think that he or she is stuck in their own fears or in false teachings, false learnings, and I would just distance myself from them, as all you're doing is lowering your own frequency and making life harder on yourself. God or Source is a frequency that is within all of us, and all we have to do to connect is to tune in. Just like finding the proper radio station on an old-fashioned dial radio. No religious intermediary is needed to have a direct connection with Source. Ever since I found Source again 5 years ago, my life has been so much more meaningful. Now, I think it's pretty much a certainty that our soul wants us to experience rejection by incarnating as a sexual minority, because rejection basically happens anytime when someone makes us feel like crap for being different. The day that we completely and totally accept ourselves just the way that we are, and that we love ourselves and find ourselves perfect just the way that we are, that's the day that no one can reject us anymore, and we will have conquered rejection, and in so doing, we'll accomplish a big lesson in our soul contract. That said, we live millions of incarnations of all sorts in different universes and dimensions and planets. And here on Earth, our souls are all going to have different sexual incarnations along the way. Even the biggest homophobe in one lifetime is going to have other lifetimes where he's the gayest gay. Because each soul wants to experience everything there is to experience. And why not? Our souls never die. Earth is simply a huge playground for our souls that are beings from a much higher dimension. And we get so wrapped up in our fears and our worries and our traumas and pains that we would never even bother to think that all this is a game, that it's all a simulation, and that us humans, we are the characters in the game. It is just a game. So the faster we can enter this mindset or contemplate this mindset, the faster we can stop worrying about why we're gay, or a specific gender, or a specific race, or why we were born in a specific country, and instead tackle what it is that our soul wants us to accomplish in this lifetime. Because we are the character that our soul chose and built to accomplish its list of challenges and lessons. So best pay attention to what our soul wants us to do. And I think being a sexual minority is definitely an extra challenge because of all the ridicule and the harassment and the physical and emotional injury that can result. It's a tougher life for most of us who are gay. And speaking for myself, just the thought of accepting myself as gay was traumatic because I wanted to be heterosexual because I believed that's what everybody was supposed to be. And I had convinced myself that I was heterosexual. And I was so convinced I was heterosexual that I thought that all guys thought of other guys when they were having sex with their girlfriends. Like, how brainwashed is that, eh? I actually thought that for years. But the powers that run our society, they want us brainwashed and following their orders. But the sooner that we can accept that we are all souls and that we are divine sparks from source, then we don't need to answer to any controllers. At that point, we can take our power back as true divine beings because we are all connected spiritually to our Creator. My 2 cents worth, accept who you are. It's predetermined. Embrace it and live it and figure out what you're supposed to learn. Our soul actually wants us to be happy. And I think stepping into our mission will bring us happiness. If people won't accept you for who you are, then consider distancing yourself from them because you are lowering your frequency by being around them. If ever it's one of your parents who won't accept you for what you've told them, well, that's a tough challenge, but contemplate that perhaps that is a challenge that your soul chose pre-incarnation. So how are you going to handle that? But a lot of thought has to be put into this, obviously. When I found out a couple months ago that one of my biggest challenges in this lifetime was to heal generational rejection, which is rejection that goes further up my family lineage, I decided to use this podcast as a means of publicly stating that I'm gay. Yeah, I'm gay. And I'm not going to be ashamed about it anymore. Because I think that my soul chose me to be gay in this incarnation so that I could heal this rejection. And in so doing, I could help other souls in my family lineage heal their own rejection, whatever it may be. Now, all that said, I've known for some time now that I have a new partner coming at me soon. I've been feeling it in my bones, or my soul has been whispering it to me. A partner that my soul chose pre-incarnation. So, buddy, you know who you are. If you're watching this, don't play hide and seek. Make a move. Message me. To conclude, none of us want to deal with the shame, the anxiety, the depression, the low self-esteem that can come with being gay. But if you look at it under the lens that it's all part of a much larger lesson being carried out by very advanced beings, and that nothing that happens to us is random, but rather is a deliberate part of our learnings, then heck, I think this makes being human way more fun. And I think that being a sexual minority, or a racial minority for that matter, is an extra hard challenge. So give yourself a great big hug and a huge high five, because you and I were given an extra layer of difficulty in this incarnation, and we have persevered right through. The sooner that we realize that Earth is a huge playground for our souls, and that our souls want us to accomplish certain things for it, that everything is an experience, that everything is a game, then that is where being human can be so much easier. So I recommend surrounding yourself with people, beings, and things that elevate your frequency, and work on finding your purpose, and thus healing our soul. That's what I wanted to share with you today. If you know someone that is struggling with being gay or is coming out of the closet, please share with us with them. I'm pretty sure it'll help them an awful lot. I'd like to dedicate this podcast to Jesus, and if you liked it, please get your thumbs active there. And if you have any questions or comments, throw those down in the comment section. It'd be great to hear from you. Next video, we're going to jump into why we live in a simulation. Thanks for tuning in to Soul Healing with the ETs. Good choice, and I'll see you on the next one.